Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmITheKaren for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinion, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. High heels cyanide. Am I the Karen for complaining about unauthorized service to my car? I have a Ford Focus, and if you know anything about them, they suck. Recently mine quit working on the highway. I had it towed home and looked at it. It turns out that Ford knew this part would fail, and that it was faulty on the entire run of Focus/Fiesta, and that the dealers weren't to tell owners unless specifically asked. So I was a lot more angry than usual. I take it into the dealer and explain what was wrong, and that it was still under warranty by Ford. Keep in mind that no paperwork was given to me because Ford is keeping it under wraps. First, he tries to say there is no warranty. Then once he runs the VIN and sees that there is a warranty, he tells me that I should take it elsewhere, since their wait times are 1 to 2 weeks to fix any cars. I tell him I'm absolutely leaving the car since they are the only people authorized to make the repair within an hour of my house. That it's still under warranty, and I'm not about to void that by taking it somewhere else. He tells me it'll be $200 to diagnose it, if it isn't the part that's under warranty. Fair enough, except I've already had it looked at and know it's the part. Later that day, I get a call that it's definitely the part, and they fixed it, but that they also installed a new battery because it was close to the cost of the diagnostic fee. I double-checked with my coworkers, they have a car under warranty by a different maker, and they said the dealer always called before doing any work that wasn't discussed when it was brought in. So, when I got there, I complained to the manager that my car was repaired without my authorization. I knew exactly what part was broken when I brought it in, and while I would have been fine paying a fee if it wasn't the needed repair, I'm not fine paying for a service I didn't want or ask for. I wasn't mean and didn't yell, but I wasn't okay with it. They waived the charge and I feel bad. I didn't necessarily want the mechanic in trouble, but I do think he stepped out of bounds by not checking with me. Am I the Karen? So, if I were to try to look at this just from an objective standpoint and my experience with dealerships, I think, and because I did check this, because OP is a woman, that the dealership probably thought that they could just pull a fast one and get an easy $200 out of her and call it good. Looking at it from the standpoint of, oh, well, they don't know much about cars and they don't know what's normal, so we can just really quickly swap the battery and just tell them, oh, it was the same cost of diagnostic fee, so we took care of it anyways. And then charge them the $200 and call it good. Because once they pay that fee, there you go, you're in the clear. But instead, OP made a fuss, and they realized very quickly, oh shit, this can get bad, we'll just waive it and call it good, enjoy the free battery. Because the thing is, if it wasn't you getting the mechanic in trouble for doing service to a vehicle and charging for it that wasn't previously disclosed or agreed upon, he would have done it to another, and another, and another, and another. So nipping that in the bud right then and there might help prevent someone else from being harmed in the future. So not the Karen. This one was actually a cross post to r/Am I the Asshole. Am I the asshole for snapping at a barista after she woke up my sleeping baby twice? The coffee shop near my house just reopened, so I went in for a coffee on my afternoon walk with my 9-month-old daughter yesterday. It wasn't busy, but because there were only 3 baristas, only 2 serving customers, working, the service was slow. That's fine, I wasn't in a rush. But the second I walked in, I was struck by how loud their coffee grinder was. It wasn't just shut off in a few seconds though, but kept going and going. Since the 3rd barista was grinding a huge bag of coffee all at once. Within the first minute, my daughter wakes up and keeps screaming, no matter how much I try to comfort her. After 5 minutes, I asked the barista if she could stop using the coffee grinder as it's disturbing my baby, and she agrees and turns off the machine. While I'm waiting for my drink, I manage to get my daughter to start dozing again, until the barista turns on the grinder again, making my daughter cry all over again. At this point, I snap at the barista for turning it on when I'm still there, as she can clearly see that she has caused my daughter to cry again. The barista says she was doing something else with the grinder that was more urgent, but could she have really not waited until I left? Anyways, the other baristas were extremely cold to me and didn't even say anything when they gave me my drink. I emailed the manager when I got home explaining the situation, and today the manager replied and apologized for what happened. In return, I got a free gift card. I was telling my husband this, thinking he would be excited about the gift card, but he doesn't think I should have emailed the manager at all and that I overreacted. But the manager agrees that I was wronged here. Am I the asshole? You are the Karen. They were short-staffed, you walked into a coffee shop where coffee grinding is common, asked them not to do their job for a prolonged period of time, then emailed their manager because they were doing their job. It's obvious you've never worked in the service industry because that gift card wasn't the manager acknowledging that you were right, that gift card was to get you to shut the fuck up. And it's really goddamn unfortunate that the norm now, in order just to get Karens out of the goddamn building and to get them to shut the hell up, is to acknowledge their poor behavior and, agree with them, just to get them to go away, because it emboldens their behavior and makes them believe they're in the right. As just maybe a fun thought experiment here, coffee shops are normally loud, right? I don't think I've ever been in a quiet coffee shop. So, maybe don't bring a sleeping baby into a coffee shop? Just an idea? Don't bring your baby into places that'll be loud? Just a thought. Blurga 77. Am I a Karen for expecting a reply when asking a new salon to fix their lights shining into my house all night? We have a business behind our house that has been at least 3 different ventures since we moved in. The most recent one that just opened is a sort of salon space rental. No problem. Starting in April, as they were wrapping up renovations for opening, a new streetlight popped up on the fence line between their parking lot and my backyard. They left it on all night. It was ridiculously bright, but I assumed it was only on for the dumpster to get picked up that morning. I was wrong. My husband called them, telling them it's really bright, and they immediately called him back and said they are putting up shields on all the lights by opening day in May. They obviously used scrap metal stapled to the lights at points that don't really block much of the light into our yard. I sent an email with photos of the lights saying they need to adjust the shields on May 6th. No reply. Called a week later and left a message. No callback. May 20th. Sent a message on their business Instagram asking if I was using the correct contact info for location issues, and got a reply to use the contact email on their website. I sent another email on May 21st and offered helping finding some shields to fit the lights if they tell me what kind they are. No reply. Called again on the 22nd and left another message with my phone number since I don't think I actually stated my number the first time. No callback. Today, May 23rd, I finally asked my husband what number he had been communicating with them with, and it was different than the one I had been using. I sent a text asking if this was the correct number for the company since I had not been able to get into contact with anyone. I got a reply. It was a screenshot of their response email, and they had finally sent a reply to my email right before I sent the text. Dear Blurg, in our team meeting today, it came up that you had contacted us several times through every communication channel we have. We have noted the complaint and are working on it. We can't undo what the city required of us overnight. The contractor is working on solutions today/this weekend. Harassing us will slow us down, not speed us up. Please only use this email to communicate with us. If you continue to pester our team, we will be less inclined to help you. What? Am I being an asshole to expect they'd give me some sort of acknowledgement of my messages that last month? Update. I gave them a week to fix the lights and do whatever solution they claimed they had planned. I was on vacation, so the week wasn't out of kindness to them. I called the city, made sure I understood the codes correctly, then submitted all my photos and complaints to the city. The lights were all turned off within 3 days. I was nervous it would be temporary, but the lights that were the worst offenders of my area are all still off. If they turn them back on, I'll just call the city again. I spoke to a neighbor who got an even more unhinged email back when she complained about the lights as well. She was told by the owner she was being childish and would be embarrassed if she complained about a light to a homeless person. I gave her all the information I had that I related to the city to document everything, since one of the business's lights is still shining into her living room. The additional info I have was after having a friend ask some questions when she had a hair appointment with a stylist who rents a space from this company, and, as suspected, It has been very difficult when trying to get any maintenance for the stylists and estheticians renting space. There are two owners, with one being much more difficult than the other. They have zero experience in the beauty industry. They are two business grads from a notorious religious college with a lot of extreme how to be top dog in business articles posted on their LinkedIn. We're just gathering info and listening to other stories at this point, but I don't fully know what our end goal is other than getting the light poles removed, so this won't be an issue later. The owners, who are fascinatingly horrendous at their jobs, are a whole other can of worms that we aren't sure if we can tackle right now, especially since they are literally in our backyard, and I am mildly concerned about retaliation. Definitely not the Karen, and honestly, what I would do is I would just get a fucking screenshot of their emails and post them on Google as a review for their salon. The thing is, you're also not a Karen for expecting a response, because it would take them literally maybe less than a minute just to simply send you a response. We are currently looking into this, we will have more details soon. Just so that way, the person they're responding to knows that their emails are actually being heard. Because if you don't do that, how are they supposed to know that their emails are actually being read and received? Huh? For being top dogs at business, you're kinda fucking stupid. As a business owner, you should know that every word you state is probably going to end up under a microscope, especially in the age of information. Hell, any email that you send to a customer, any kind of client correspondence that's just rude or out of fucking left field, can easily just be posted online to flame your business because you're being an asshole. Being a top dog at business doesn't mean shit if you're not actively treating your customers with respect, or those around you for that matter. People aren't gonna want to shop somewhere where their concerns are being dismissed as, how would a homeless person feel knowing you're complaining about this? Imagine if a salon fucks up your haircut or your nails or something like that, and you complain about it, and it's did you ever think how a homeless person might feel that you're complaining about your nails or hair? Did you ever think about that? Damn, dude, what a grade A response right there. Not the Karen. Caffeine-fueled life. Am I the Karen for going on about a pillow? Where we live, the district pays kids to go to summer school. It's 4 weeks long, and if they have perfect attendance, they each get $100. Where was this when I was a kid? Anyway, Monday morning, when we were just about to go out the door, I got an email saying the kindergartners will need to bring a small blanket and pillow because they were going to have rest time. This was not mentioned in the previous summer school emails. I went back and checked. My daughter has some small throw blankets, so I sent her with one of those. However, she doesn't have a small pillow. I took the kids to school and immediately went to the store and bought a little pillow. I took it to school, I'm sure by 9:30 or 10 at the latest, and told them who it was for. Her name was on it. Monday, I pick her up and ask if she likes her pillow. She hasn't seen it. Well, okay, maybe they just didn't have time to get it from the office to the classroom. No big deal. She didn't get it on Tuesday. She didn't get it on Wednesday. Thursday morning, I called to ask them about it, and they said they had taken it to her classroom and they would call back and make sure her teacher got the note. Thursday after school, she again said she didn't get it. If she tells me she didn't get it today, I'm going to go inside to talk to them about it again. Am I the Karen for going on and on about this $10 pillow for rest time? Should I just forget about it and buy her another one this weekend and put it in her backpack? I know it's only $10, but money is tight right now. A comment below that includes some of OP's further contributions. Jess Wesky comments, it's possible it got confused for other kids. I would talk to the teacher. OP responds, I just picked the kids up, she got it today. She told me the teacher said it got put on a shelf and forgotten about. Irocaria 2024 comments, someone probably dropped it off to the classroom, the day got busy, and at the end of the day, the teacher was cleaning up and thought it came out of the book corner / com corner / whatever your school calls it. I doubt it was malicious, just something that got overlooked in a busy classroom. A good reminder to put your child's name in a prominent place on everything you send to school. OP further responds, yeah, I'm sure that's what happened, and I did write her name on it. That's why I was questioning if I should even keep asking about it. Teachers are underpaid and overworked, but I'm really stretching thin financially, and $10 is a lot to me. OP is definitely not the Karen, because the biggest part of what makes you a Karen is no consideration for what someone else is going through. OP is actively considering that the teacher's underpaid, they're probably really busy, things are going on, but I still want my daughter to have the pillow that I paid for her. It's the consideration for others that determines whether or not you're being a Karen or not, at least in most situations. And in this case, I don't think OP was being the Karen. They gave plenty of time, and eventually it reached the point of, hey, I bought this pillow for my daughter for nap time. She says she hasn't gotten it yet. What's going on? Of course, you would, ask nicer than that, but as long as you're being kind with the question and still staying on top of it, you're not being a Karen for just ensuring your child's comfort during nap time. It's not a problem. Also, that summer school program? Fucking sick, dude. That should be far more common. Paying the kids to be there if they have perfect attendance? Dude, that's like 10 Bionicles. That's fucking sick. Flag Schmeisen, 85. Was I the hospital Karen? I had an appointment for an MRI, so I showed up half an hour early. We sat there in the waiting room as neatly. No one was called back for their appointment or to the ER. And we waited. And waited. We checked to see if they were going to call us back soon. They said soon. So we waited. And waited. It was about 4 hours past my appointment time when I decided to check the hospital app. I can see appointments on it, contact my doctors, see test results. I was worried I had the date wrong. I didn't. I was there at the right place and time. It was nearing 5 hours, but the app said I'd already been seen. Doctor's notes and a diagnoses were already entered. I lost it. I asked my husband to request to speak to someone. When someone called me back, it was for blood work that was required before they could do the MRI. I may have made a scene. I yelled about the preemptive diagnosis and false information. I refused to do the blood work and demanded they just do the MRI. The nurse says they couldn't do that just in case. My kidneys needed to be cleared for the test first. I mimed taking my kidneys out and said, "Here, take them then. Now can we do the test?" She talked me into the blood test after a few minutes, though I was fuming. I bit my tongue and just went along with it. By the time I left, we'd been there for 7 hours. I still feel bad about blowing up, but I think I was right, so am I the Karen? You spent 5 hours in the waiting room, and yeah, you had a meltdown, but at the same time, it was a justifiable one. Like, you were as patient as you possibly could be, and you looked on the app and found out that they had entered false medical information about you that would probably go to your chart. That's not good. That's really fucking bad. And then when you ask questions about it, you kind of get a soft runabout? Yeah, I can definitely understand why you would mime taking your kidney out, as goofy as that is. Comment from Daisy Devine. Or Devin. Daisy Devin? I like mine better. I understand why you were upset, but why not ask about the delay when you were an hour past your time, or even 2? Why, when you found out an error had been made, did you lose it and make your husband do the legwork? Again, I get why you'd be frustrated, but I'm sure it's simple. Hey, I'm not sure what's happened, but I've been waiting a long time and just noticed that the app says I was already seen. Can we figure out what's going on and get me looked at? Oh, you need some blood work done? Shoot, I wasn't expecting that. But you are the professionals, so let's get it done so I can get out of here. And perhaps a conversation later on about how the mistake was made that had me waiting so long. Can you make sure I have the contact info for management or your tech team so I can chat with them about this? I mean, yeah, that comment in theory is definitely nice and a great way to approach it, but, in theory, no one's gonna have the perfect Nick Jr. response ready to go. And if you're already trying to be as polite as possible through the 4 hours of waiting, eventually you're gonna hit a tipping point. That is human. Anyways, OP responds to this comment. Let me clarify because I did just write this while I was still upset. I did check on the delay earlier on too, but they just said they'd be right with us. And the fact that no one else was going back, I knew they must have something going on, so I didn't freak out right away. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, so to speak. Plus, you get a bunch of people in the waiting room grumbling about the delay, and you start talking about other things and time slips. By the time I checked again, it was a ridiculous amount of time that had passed. I had my husband check with them because I'm in a wheelchair and injured my arm recently. It was just easier for him to ask. As far as the rest, I don't have an excuse other than I was in pain, had anxiety, it was a long day, and I was just done with it all. Even as someone who usually takes it all in stride, laughs it off, and doesn't want to rock the boat. This day just hit me the wrong way, and I acted the opposite of how I normally would. It wasn't like me, but I'm owning up to my behavior. I did apologize profusely to the nurse I offered my kidneys to. She ended up doing the MRI, and we talked before and after the test. So the comments are a bit split if OP's the Karen or not, and she might be a bit of a Karen, but I think it might be a justified Karen. There is one more comment that I think is incredibly important to include, by user Will Die Alone with Cats. I'm glad you were. My perspective is colored from working in an industry supporting people with disabilities to what is considered an extreme level of impairment, and also from seeing one of my closest relatives live with a very, very severe disability due to a mistake in the hospital. Be your advocate. Is there a better way to do it? Yeah. Next time you raise the issue when they are 10 minutes late. But I want to be clear. Hospitals are meant to support people with disabilities that make communication challenging. People who may require a translator. People are at their worst. Many people have to travel long distances or struggle to get childcare to make an appointment. Mistakes threaten lives. If someone is scheduled for an MRI, this is not something that is done to diagnose a fun body fact like, oh, your kidney has a little bit of an extra curve. MRIs are one of the most expensive machines in a hospital. They are there to diagnose or rule out generally life-threatening issues. MRIs are hard to schedule. They require specialist operators and often aren't even available on weekends or out of business hours. A delay could mean that someone can go days or weeks without having something life-threatening found. And let's not ignore the very, 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 very concerning issue. The OP was not seen. They had records entered showing they were seen. There were results and a diagnosis. What was that diagnosis? Was that bullshit entered to fill a blank space so that someone could have been going in for a pancreatic cancer screening, or missed and had an all-clear constipation entered and their insurance billed? Or was this someone else's medical records with their results lost in OP's file? This is something very concerning. It could be an app glitch or something as severe as criminal, depending on if someone was falsely entering information to be able to bill for missed appointments. And this happens. When things like this happen in a hospital, they see a lot of patients. The expected result is there will be a number of people that die as a result. A little Nana goes in for a scan, sits in the room, nothing happens, thinks it's all fine, and it wasn't. Anyone in medicine reading my comment can attest. You have heard of this before, and not just once. So there is a way to raise an issue. But hell, I would prefer a Karen to a silent Nona who quietly goes home to die from something that could have been treated. And with that comment, I will confidently submit the fact that this is either not a Karen or a 100% justified Karen. But what do you think? I'd actually be curious to hear some opinions of your initial reaction as well as your reaction after hearing some of the comments. Veiled Logger. Would I be the Karen if I report my neighbors for allowing their dogs to run around our apartment complex off-leash? So, I live in an apartment complex that is pet-friendly. 2 of my neighbors let their dogs run around the complex off-leash. Sometimes their owners are within sight of the dogs, often they are not, and are actually inside while their dogs run freely outside. These dogs, while very sweet, are causing some problems around our complex. I've had dogs dart out in front of my car multiple times while driving around the private roads in our complex, and I've had to slam the brakes to avoid hitting them. I find this ridiculously dangerous and negligent. I've had dogs in the past and would never consider letting them off-leash where cars may hit them. I've reported this to my landlord several times. Our lease makes it clear that dogs must be leashed at all times. She always listens to my complaints, but has clearly not enforced anything. The dogs remain off-leash, and I've seen her chatting away happily to my neighbors while the dogs run wild. She clearly doesn't care. I've also spoken to my neighbors directly and told them I'm afraid of hitting their dogs. They laughed it off and said, oh, they'll run away if a car gets too close. I'm considering reporting to the local authorities. Firstly, because their dogs are in danger of being run over or attacked by another animal. Secondly, these dogs also run into the nature preserve that backs up against the complex, which is definitely not allowed. Will I be the Karen if I report this, especially since it doesn't seem to bother my landlord? I'm worried about the dog's safety. But I can't say I'm being purely selfless here, because I also don't want to be on the hook if I accidentally hit one of these dogs. I don't think OP's being the Karen here if they want to report this, because they've tried communicating several times. Hey, your dogs are kind of causing problems by running around freely. Not only do we have a no dog policy, but, like, they keep running in front of cars. No, don't worry, they'll just run from the cars. Well, they're not, and I don't want to be responsible for the dog's death. So in my opinion, reporting this is a perfectly reasonable reaction and escalation from everything that OP attempted to do. So yeah, not the Karen. And if you ever find yourself in this kind of situation, I would 100% recommend making a paper trail of how many times you reported it, of how many times you've asked them to put their dogs just inside or keep them on leashes, how many times you've told them, hey, I'm afraid of hitting your dog. Hell, get a dash cam so that way if the dog runs out, you can get footage of it and show them, hey, look how close this was. Can you please put your dogs away? I also don't think it's selfish to not want to hit a dog with your car. So definitely not the Karen here. Periwinkle madness. Would I be the asshole if I reported my neighbor's chickens to the HOA? Hi everyone. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma. I, 30 female, bought a home in a residential neighborhood with an HOA a little over a year and a half ago. The plot sizes are about a quarter acre and allow for lots of trees and gardening, etc. My neighbors, 50s couple, to the west are mostly friendly, even though I've had some weird interactions with them. Example, first communication with them was them telling me to trim my tree, which I got an arborist to do within 60 days. They were on their shed roof throwing ropes trying to trim it themselves 3 days after asking me to, and I had to stop them. The problem stems from it is against HOA regulations to have chickens, and they have 20 plus chickens in a makeshift coop against our shared fence. They got the chickens in spring 2024, and I initially discovered them because a few chickens kept getting into my backyard. I didn't really mind, it's made for some funny watching of my partner, 30 male, chasing chickens to put them back over the fence. I've had to call the neighbor before to help get a chicken out of one of my bushes, and she was apologetic. They've brought me a few dozen eggs, and it has compensated for the getting woken up regularly by clucking at 6 a.m. and not being able to get in that side of my yard because of the smell. A couple weekends ago, my indoor-only cats caught a rogue mouse in my home. It's the start of spring, so I was hoping that it was just a field mouse that got in. We cleaned everything up and moved on. The next weekend, we got a knock on our door from an exterminator letting us know that they were servicing the neighbors with the chickens for mice and gave us their card. The next morning, another mouse was dead in the living room, with blood all over the place. I spent like 2 hours that morning cleaning and sanitizing. Would I be a Karen and/or asshole to report the neighbors for the chickens to the HOA? It's not really been bothered up until now, but I can't with mice in my house potentially because their coop isn't clean. I'm worried about retaliation from the neighbors, as my other neighbor to the east told me the people who owned my home before me partially moved due to a feud with the neighbors with the chickens. Apparently, the neighbors let their wild blackberries run rampant as retaliation, and I'm still cleaning up thorns from that. My legs get cut up mowing the lawn because a random thorn branch will get caught and whip around. My partner thinks we shouldn't do anything. People should be able to have chickens if they want, which I agree with. But I also shouldn't have to clean up dead mice in my house. Too long didn't read. Would I be the Karen if I reported my neighbors to the HOA because I have mice and it's likely their fault due to a chicken coop against our shared fence? Edit, someone mentioned looking up rules for chickens for my city. So apparently, only 6 chickens for a 10,000 square foot, 1 acre property. And coops need to be minimum 10 feet from property line. Both of these are not being met with the 20 plus chickens and them using our shared fence as one of the walls of the coop. Still unsure what to do. Update. I got really worried about my cats last night and ended up texting my neighbors this morning, explaining the exterminator stopping by and asking about if any poison was used. The wife came over to let me know that they only got traps laid since their dog also catches the mice. She also said, I'm done having chickens here, and explained that her brother has a farm and they're building a huge, showed me pictures, coop for the 250 chickens they have across both the farm and the house. Apparently she's raising them at the house from incubation, then taking them to the farm. So maybe this is fixed itself? We'll see if they're gone in a few weeks. She did claim the mice is a problem for the whole neighborhood, and it's been that way for years. Hope that's not true. Thanks everyone for the advice. I appreciate the bolster to try to talk to people who intimidate me. I'll do anything for my fur babies. Added bonus, I still get free eggs, as she said to come over anytime I want some. Opie got a bit lucky with this one, but honestly, I don't think I would consider them the Karen because they do have a genuine concern of the mice being an issue potentially caused by the chicken coop and poisons being used that could harm their cats. Thankfully, that turned out not to be the case, but also, the confines of the chicken coop don't sound very good for the chickens. My mom has chickens, and they're little feral beasts. Chickens are mean, they're aggressive, they're bastards. They also can be sweet sometimes. My mom does what she can to give them as much space as possible, and I'm actually kind of wondering now if, her chicken coop abides by Idaho's policies. But that's besides the point. I also think that, people should be allowed to have chickens in their backyard, but you gotta make sure you're taking care of them so they're not being a menace to your neighbors. The last thing that you want is to be in a position where because you have chickens, you're making your neighbors' lives hell. But what do you think? In this circumstance, would OP be the Karen if they had reported the chicken coop before the chicken coop was, emptied out or potentially dismantled? I also thought this would be a fun little update because previously I spoke with the fact that my ex wanted me to report my neighbors to the HOA because they had 2 more dogs than they were allowed to have due to HOA ordinance, which I didn't. And I also believe that my neighbors did not like me because this specific ex would purposely badmouth them in earshot and try to just make their life hell in various dumb ways. Not good. Well, the update is that since I last talked about that almost a year ago, I'm actually really close with those neighbors. And their kids will mow my lawn sometimes, which is actually really awesome. And it's been really cool. I'm actually friends with a lot of my neighbors now, and I've repaired a lot of relationships that my ex kind of destroyed. So that's been super cool. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those 2 are my personal favorites right now.